All right, let's take you to the country's courts now. Mortimer Saunders, the man accused of raping and killing 3-year-old Courtney Pieters, is due back in the Western Cape High Court this morning. Courtney went missing from her home in May last year. Her body was later found buried in a shallow grave in Epping Industrial in Cape Town. Saunders has confessed to poisoning, beating, choking and suffocating the child, but denies raping her. For more on the story now, we cross live to our reporter, Leigh-Anne Jansen, who's at court for us. Leigh-Anne, just reading the details of that story, I'm sure it must be even harder listening to those details in court. What can we expect today?
It's extremely traumatic sitting in this courtroom listening to all these gruesome details of what had happened to 3-year-old Courtney Pieters. Today we're expected to hear some more gruesome details. A state pathologist is expected to take the stand. Now, you'd remember that Mortimer Saunders had pleaded guilty to murdering Courtney Pieters but says it wasn't premeditated. He also says he didn't rape her but had performed sexual acts on her corpse. Today the pathologist is expected to detail the alleged rape and what he'd found in his autopsy and detail that autopsy report before the court today.
Now, Leigh-Anne, throughout this trial we've heard the details of the day that Courtney Pieters went missing. Just the arbitrary details of her mother going to work, the woman who lived in a little room at the back of the house looking for Courtney, going back into her house to clean up, coming back, still not finding Courtney there. And there was strong reaction from the community and from a number of quarters, in fact, to Courtney Pieters' mother.
Yes, many members of the community and curious onlookers here at court are questioning or pointing fingers at Juanita Pieters, Courtney Pieters' mother, and her culpability in all of this. Juanita Pieters had told the court that she had gone to work that morning and left Courtney and her little brother in the house in Pluto Street in Elsie's River, and she had assumed, she says, that Courtney's cousin Marsha Wen, who was living in a Wendy house in the backyard, would keep an eye out on the child. When Marsha Wen took the stand, she said, how could Juanita assume that I would take care of the child if I didn't know she was in the house? And she had said that Juanita would often leave Courtney in the house alone, and that Marsha would only realize that Courtney was at home alone when she'd wake up and cry. So many people and many quarters have been pointing fingers of negligence towards Courtney Pieters' mother.
All right, before we let you go, Leigh-Anne, take us through just the mood in court. I mean, I can just imagine, given the details that the courtroom is hearing, what it must be like, but the mood from those in the public gallery and the accused himself.
The mood within the public gallery, people are very inquisitive. They want to know exactly what the state alleges Mortimer Saunders had done to Courtney Pieters. Many also believing that the state should have accepted his plea explanation and his guilty plea on the first day of court. The state then setting out to prove premeditated murder and rape, as we're seeing in court now. Mortimer Saunders, on the other hand, he sits and listens intently to what the witnesses are saying in the witness stand. He doesn't show much emotion. In a really soft voice, he says, "Yes, ma'am," when the judge postpones the case and warns him to be back at court the next day or 2 days' time. But yeah, many people are very inquisitive to hear what had happened to Courtney and are interested and in anticipation of the outcome of this trial.
All right, well, you'll keep us up to date on that story as it unfolds throughout the day at the Western Cape High Court there. ENCA's Leigh-Anne Jansen covering the killing of Courtney Pieters, the 3-year-old who was raped and killed just last year. The accused, Mortimer Saunders, is back in the dock.